It has released. The Nintendo Switch is officially out worldwide. It was a little strange to be out here in Japan for the release because everybody was 12 hours behind. So when I woke up on the morning of the 5th, I was like, oh, the Switch is out today. Let's see what everybody thinks, because everybody went at midnight to get their consoles. And I was like, no, midnight is actually not for another 7 hours. So we've got quite a bit of time. It was kind of strange. So I figured today I'd just kind of talk a little bit about the launch, a little bit about what I saw, and my current situation, which is a little odd. So because of the region locking, I was not hunting for a Switch out here. I did apply through the My Nintendo store to get a console, which is the only way in Japan that you can get a console that does support the English language. You have to get it from Nintendo's website, at least right now. Maybe in the future that'll change. But right now, the only way to get one in Japan is through their website. So I applied through the lottery system, and of course I was denied all 3 times because I doubt they made very many of those, and those seem to be in pretty high demand out here. So wasn't able to get one through My Nintendo, but I did secure a pre-order through Best Buy, as well as a physical copy, I will say, of Mario Kart World, a Pro Controller, and the Micro SD Card Express, the little Mario one that they're selling. So those are the 4 items that I pre-ordered from Best Buy. I got them individually because I didn't want to have any issues with Best Buy, because I had heard that, well, if you get a bundle through Best Buy, like a controller, the console, and the SD card, if they don't have enough SD cards, they just cancel your whole order. And it's like, I don't want to risk it. So I pre-ordered them all individually. So if there's any problems, whatever. But thankfully, there were not any problems. Well, the only issue is that I am still in Japan. I did not go home for this console launch. So you're probably wondering, how did you get this thing? What did you do? Thankfully, Best Buy has a authorized pickup person other than myself. And so thankfully, my mom was kind enough to go and pick it up the morning of release on June the 5th. And she got all 4 items. She took them to her car. She boxed them up and went straight to the UPS store and shipped them off to me, which was great because as of the time of this recording, which today is Saturday, the 7th of June, they've cleared customs. They're on their way to Japan. And hopefully it says I should receive the whole package by the end of the day, Tuesday. We'll see how that goes. I've never really shipped anything like this internationally through UPS before. Hopefully everything goes all right. I did the fastest shipping that they could do, which actually wasn't that expensive. If it's a smaller box and it doesn't weigh that much, which the Switch 2 doesn't really weigh that much, it was surprisingly cheap. To ship it from a Louisville, Kentucky UPS store to the prefecture of Fukuoka was about, what was the total? I can't remember what it was down to the thing, but it was roughly about like $375 or something like that, which I know that sounds expensive for shipping, but it's like, but if you think about it, you're shipping a console, a controller, a game, and an SD card across the world in like 4 days for like $300. It's like, that's actually pretty impressive. That's pretty surprising. I was fully expecting them to say, yeah, we'll get it there in 5 days and it'll be $700. I was really expecting that. But I was surprised and I was like, hey, I haven't really bought anything else this year. I've been saving up some money because I knew this was coming out. This is what I'm going to spend my money on this year. This is my big blowout. Yeah, what the hell? Why not? So it's on its way. Thankfully, she was able to pick it up. I was really nervous that Best Buy was going to say, sorry, your name is spelled wrong, or you got the wrong phone number, or there's an issue there. But my mom said that they were super nice. They were really great. So I will be shopping Best Buy exclusively in the future for anything electronics needs in the United States. It was kind of funny because I had told her that, I was kind of jealous that she was going to this console launch because I like standing in lines, and I like kind of chit chat with people in lines and seeing what's going on and what are they excited for, and because that's where you really get the fan base, right? If you go to like a PlayStation midnight launch or a Nintendo midnight launch, like you get the really hardcore fans out there to talk about the stuff they're really passionate about. And I was like, I'm really jealous. You're gonna get a chance to go. And I think she was kind of like, I hope there's not a lot of people in line. I hope this isn't really, whatever. But she ended up getting in line, and she was talking to the guy directly behind her. And it turns out that he's actually a guy that works in our local post office. And so she already kind of knew him. And she was like, oh, hey, what are you doing here? And I guess he was getting a console for his son that lives in Finland. So I guess she's going to mail her the console that she was buying to Japan. He's going to mail his to Finland. And it's just like, wow, what a small world. Like, so she made a friend in line. And I was like, I told you that going to console launches is so much fun. That's the problem that I have with the modern day, pre-order everything online, and it's all like not in person anymore. It's like, you don't get to like meet the fans and see who's out there. And, I don't know. There's just something fun about that. I miss those like midnight launch game nights. We really only have them for consoles now. We don't have them for games anymore. But yeah, I'm glad that was a positive experience for her. I'm glad she was able to at least have a little bit of fun, and it wasn't, she just wasn't out there with a bunch of like, she's like, oh, everyone out here is a bunch of nerds and everyone's lame. It's like, no, she said everybody was super nice and she had a great time. I was like, sweet, I'm jealous. I wish I could have been there because I've always enjoyed those things. One thing that I will actually say, in a prior video, I mentioned that the pre-order process for the Nintendo Switch and any console is always a lottery, and I absolutely hate it. There's a love and hate relationship that I have with the way Japan does their electronics, because they do the lottery system just like that, so it's hard to get one at launch. However, the stock for like peripheral items out here is second to none. So I went on the day of release to my local game store out here in my little town. There's only one. And I was like, I'm just going to swing by and, see if they've got any Switches in stock, or see if they got any Switch 2s in stock, see if they got any, like, do they have any games in stock or any, like, accessories? What do they have? And I walked in there and they had everything. They had everything but the console. Obviously, the console was just a lottery, so you had to win one. But if I wanted a Pro Controller, they're sitting right there. If I wanted the SD cards, they're right there. They had plenty of cases, plenty of extra Joy-Cons, and they had literally the entire lineup, like in tons of it. And people were buying it. And I didn't see consoles in their hands, so I was like, do you guys even have a console yet? You're just buying the accessories before you even have the console? But that's one thing that I really will give credit to Nintendo, is that they stock properly in Japan. They really do a good job keeping everything in stock, if they can help it, right? Obviously, the console is going to be the hardest thing to keep in stock. But I guarantee you, we probably will have consoles on the shelves, at least in my store out here, probably within the month. I would say within a month or two, it won't be hard to get a Japanese-only console. But once again, that's the only problem, is that it's a Japanese-only language console. Another great thing that I noticed was I was so angry at myself. Recently, I was waiting for June the 5th, and I was all excited because I was gonna pre-order myself a GameCube controller from the My Nintendo store. Because I am a US only My Nintendo store member, I could only pre-order the controller from the My Nintendo store in America, which means that it would ship to my mom's house, and just later on, she'd either have to ship it to me, or I could pick it up when I come home next time, or whatever. And so I was like, okay, well, that'll come out June the 5th with the console. At midnight on June the 5th, which will be lunchtime for me here in Japan, I'll get on the computer just like I did with the Switch 2, and I'll pre-order the controller. Well, I saw on YouTube through a video of somebody, I saw it on my feed, that the pre-orders had already closed, and they had done them early, and they were sold out, and they had no more GameCube controllers. And I was devastated because I missed it. Because I was so angry because I missed the Nintendo 64 controllers when those launched, and I had to buy that later on, like aftermarket prices. So it was like $20 more expensive than the ticket price. And I was like, ugh, I'm not doing that again. The GameCube's my favorite controller. I'm not messing this up. I'm going to get this on launch day. I'm going to schedule this. Well, apparently in the fine print on the My Nintendo store, they said they were going to start selling it like May 18th or May 21st at like 9 a.m. or something, like Eastern time. And sure enough, I went to the website after it was already sold out and I saw it and I was like, oh no, what is the deal? Like, why did they do that? And so last weekend, we went to Fukuoka City for some fun, and we were walking around the city, and I was like, you know what? At the end of the night, we're hanging out, and I was like, I'm just gonna check the My Nintendo store and just see if the Japanese store has any GameCube controllers. I'm sure they won't, but I'll just check. And to my shock, they had them. You could pre-order them, and so I quickly turned to my wife, and I was like, log in, please. Like, stop everything you're doing. Log into My Nintendo. We need to buy this right now because it could sell out anytime. Well, we bought it. We got the confirmation message, the arigatou gozaimasu, and it'll be on its way soon. And I was like, okay, we'll see what happens with that. And the next day or two, I kept going back to the My Nintendo JP store, and it was never out of stock. It was not sold out. Actually, here, while we're doing this, I'm actually going to go on the My Nintendo store in Japan and see if it's still sold out. But I kept checking it every couple days, and it was still in stock and still in stock. And it was just like, for real? Like, it's this sold out in like seconds in America. How do they have like so many to go around here? But yeah, we were able to get the pre-order. She got the confirmation email. They were like, yep, this is yours. Like, we'll mail it to you as soon as it comes out. And I was like, oh, okay, are you sure? And sure enough, on the day of release, it showed up. It was there. To my shock, I couldn't believe it. Well, because they even said that it had shipped the day of. It was like, okay, it has shipped today. It'll be on its way. And then when we got home from work, the Sagawa guy was at our door and was like, hey, do you want this thing? And I was like, absolutely, give it to me. But yeah, it was just kind of like, wow, okay, I can't believe that was that easy. That's one thing that I would really kind of sort of criticize the My Nintendo Store of America, is that it's like, you really should make this a lot easier for us to buy as well. Because out here in Japan, it was in stock for quite a few days. There was no need to like rush to go get it. It just showed up on its own. It was fantastic. It was a great pre-order experience. Okay. So I did just pull up the website. Here it is. It's going for 7,980 yen, which I'll do the conversion for this. So 7,980 yen is $55 US, and it's in stock. It's still in stock. It says this purchase requires a Nintendo Switch online subscription. Do you want to put it in your cart? And I'm logged in under my Nintendo account, so it authorized me to do it. For a second, it said I couldn't buy it. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. I've got to be signed into my Nintendo account to prove I'm a member. But yeah, I can buy it literally right now. It says it'll be here in 2 to 6 days, depending on some islands in Japan. So yeah, that's incredible. I can just buy this right now. Like, no weird sitting in line thing. It just boop, click it, buy it, go. Yeah, why is ours not like this in America? This is so much nicer. See, that's what I'm saying. It's so strange. If we could combine the good sides of the pre-order system from Japan and the good sides of the pre-order system from America, it'd be great, because there's good and bad to both. But yeah, it seems like for me out here, accessories, peripherals, and other things like that will be very easy to get, whereas the console itself, at least for an English speaker, will be hard to get. I'm still hoping in a couple of iterations, like, whenever they change the SKU number, when they update the SKU number, where it's like, this is the first launch SKU, and then they a couple more come out and they make minor changes inside, like they change this part or they make this a little bit that way. Hopefully on the next like SKU or two, maybe next year when they release an updated version, they'll say, okay, it's all multi-language. The Japan only thing was only a launch window kind of deal. That'd be great. Because my only concern now is that if mine for some reason breaks out here, getting a replacement is going to be very difficult. But anyway, I'm sure it'll be fine eventually in time. I'll just be really cautious. But yeah, I've actually been very impressed with Nintendo. This has been a great launch for them. You know, the demand seems to be there, but it seems like from everything that I've been hearing in the United States, you know, if you wanted one and you were not able to get a pre-order, as long as you showed up to either the midnight event or the next day at a store, whether that is Target, Walmart, Best Buy, or GameStop, you could pretty much just walk into one and get one. I've seen a lot of clips online of people walking into a Walmart and it's like, oh, there's just 10 sitting right here. And it's like, that's fantastic. I love that. That's the way this should go. You know, the whole thing with the PS5 was just such a nightmare. Like, I was like, I'm not going to try to get a PS5 at launch. I'm going to give it a little bit of time. I gave it like 6 months, and just the whole Sony Direct thing, I just did not like that program. I don't know. The whole thing was just really not pleasant. Yeah. So I'm very pleased with the way Nintendo did this. I was dreading it this whole time. New console releases post COVID world is kind of a scary thing because it seems to have been chaos. It was chaos before, but ever since COVID and the part shortage, it's like really extra crazy. So I'm glad Nintendo waited until they were more ready. They had plenty of stock and it was relatively easier to get. But yeah, this will be the last episode that I make before the console comes in on Tuesday. I don't really have much else to talk about until I can get my hands on Mario Kart World, which I'm excited to do. I don't know. You know, it's weird. It's kind of strange to kind of be saying goodbye to the original Nintendo Switch. I just had so many good memories of that console and of playing games on that thing, and it's almost like sort of looking back over my life of where was I when that console came out and where am I now? And all of the different things that I experienced and saw and did during that time. It's, you know, it's kind of like saying goodbye to a, sorry, I hit the mic there. It's kind of like saying goodbye to a chapter of, you know, of your life. It's like, well, this last 8 years is kind of, you know, it's coming to an end, and it's like I'm in a very different place than I was when the first Switch came out, and I'm thankful for that. Thankfully my life is for the better, but I'm looking forward to getting the Switch. I really hope that all of you were able to get one. For those of you that want one, I know that a lot of people are going to wait. They don't like buying consoles at launch because they're worried about, you know, hardware issues. But I'm hoping that they can kind of get everything ironed out between now and the holiday season. I'm glad Nintendo did not want to release this in like October or November. I think releasing consoles in November is just the worst because it's like, well, those of us hardcore people want it pretty soon. We want it as quickly as possible. We don't want to have to compete with the grandmas and the moms and all that. There's nothing wrong with giving us a little bit of space. Releasing it between March and June is the perfect time, and I hope Nintendo sticks with this time frame and never goes back to the November launches for their consoles because it's just not needed. The market's big enough now for gaming that there's just no need to try to drum up holiday hype. There's just no need. But yeah, this is it. This is my last, you know, little thing here of talking about the original Nintendo Switch and what I think the Switch will be like. The next time I talk to you, hopefully I'll have the Switch 2 in my hands. Hopefully the plane doesn't crash or somebody steals the package or, you know, anything crazy like that happens, like knock on wood. But yeah, all of you, take it easy out there. And as always, take care of each other.